So it's currently Wednesday as I'm filming this. It is 10 to 5, which is actually quite late for me. I tend to try and do these podcasts in the morning. I'm running off like nearly 400 milligrams of caffeine, which was probably not a good idea because my head is pounding and I feel like I just sat down here a minute ago just to set everything up and I had a sip of water and my hand was like shaking like a fucking shitting dog. So not the wisest of moves from myself. But yeah, huge game tonight for England. I think they're going to beat Netherlands, but then I think they're going to get not thrashed, but I don't see them beating Spain in the final, but I do see them beating Netherlands. So you heard it here first. I'm predicting that now. I just think it's going to take something remarkable to beat Spain in the final. I think Spain have been best team so far in the whole tournament. So I think they are deserved winners, in my opinion, or they should be. But obviously, I hope England do go and do it. And me and Dom are actually, so the final is on Sunday. Me and Dom are actually going to Berlin Monday morning. I didn't even realise at the time when I booked it. It was just a great deal, and I think it was a great deal because it's the day after the final. But so yeah, we're going to be in Berlin the day after the final. So either way, I think there'll be a lot of England supporters and a lot of England fans there anyway, regardless of if we win or not. So yeah, there's nothing exciting really been going on that much since the event for me personally. It happens to me every single time I do an event, and it happened to me when I did my photo shoot. It happened on my first High Rocks, and it happened on my second High Rocks, and it's happened again after the big charity run that we did. And I just, after any event that I do, I kind of have this like week where I just feel a bit lost, and I don't particularly train very well. I don't really eat very well. And it's happened to me every single time. I think I put so much effort into these events and these goals that I set myself that it's like you get to that high and then it's kind of over, and then you're kind of a bit like caught in this no man's land. I have like 1 or 2 days off, and then I don't know, you just find yourself getting comfortable, like not training and not eating great. So I kind of have to like snap myself back into my usual routine, but it's not the end of the world. Like, it's not going to do me any harm having a week of barely training or subpar training and then eating like whatever I want. But it's the principle of it more than anything, and obviously you don't want that to spiral. But yeah, back into proper. I've been doing more High Rocks training. I think I'm going to book a High Rocks. I just think I need to book one because that gives me something to focus on. So yeah, I think I'm going to get one booked for next year, even if it's an abroad one. So I put a poll up on Instagram saying which topic should I record, and out of the two topics, the one that actually got the most votes was the topic on sleep. Out of the two, I've not written any notes for that one, whereas I have written notes for this one. And I don't like to. I like to sit down and write some notes because that gives me a structure and a bit of a flow to the podcast episodes. So the sleep one will be the next episode. In today's episode, we're going to cover the topic of comparison and how and why you should stop comparing yourself to others if you find yourself doing that quite a lot. And I think everyone's been there. Like, I've been there, like when I was younger. Again, for those of you that don't know, I'm 26 now. I was probably one of the most guiltiest people for doing this between the ages of probably maybe 17, 18, 19, I would say. I used to do this a lot. So this is coming from someone that's got experience in comparing themselves to other people. So yeah, I just want to go over some kind of key points that I think are important to note when it comes to understanding how to stop yourselves from doing these comparisons. So I think obviously with the rise of social media over the last however many years social media has been about, and obviously the popularity with people on there, I think it's definitely become super easy to find yourself comparing yourself to what you see on social media. But that kind of leads me on to the first point, which is don't compare your life to someone else's highlight reel, because at the end of the day, people only put out on social media what they want you to see. Like, I know there's probably more people that do it nowadays, in terms of people will kind of show a more vulnerable side of themselves. Like, if people fail at something, or if people maybe aren't in the greatest of headspaces, like there's a lot of people that they'll openly put posts out and they'll openly make videos on those perceived negatives, in the hope that people do kind of realize that their life isn't all sunshine and rainbows, and even these people that you idolize through social media, they have everyday problems just like me and you. So I think there's definitely more of that now, which is great to see. Again, ultimately, at the end of the day, people, what you see on people's Instagram is a highlight reel. It's essentially their best bits. So it's not an accurate comparison. I was in two minds as to whether to share this story / example or not. But it's kind of the closest thing that I've got to experience this whole situation. So I look back at me and my ex-girlfriend, and at the time, I think when we were together, I think we went on about 4 holidays in the first year of being together. And again, all we're uploading on social media was photos of us on holiday, nice food, amazing weather. On the surface, anyone that looked at my Instagram during that period would have probably saw that and maybe looked and thought like, oh, like, what a good relationship they've got. Like, they're going away on all these holidays. Like, on the surface, it did look like everything was perfect. But behind closed doors, it most certainly was not. There was so much shit. I'm not going to go into detail on it, obviously, but there was so much shit that was going on behind closed doors in that relationship that just made that relationship absolutely awful. But obviously I wasn't plastering that all over social media, because it's private, it's personal. But on the surface, people would have probably thought that we had like the perfect relationship when it was far from it. So again, that just reiterates my point of probably 90% of what you see on people's Instagrams is their best bits. So it is such a unfair comparison, because you don't know what is going on behind closed doors in that person's life. Now, Elon Musk did a podcast where he said it was something along the lines of, no one would want to be Elon Musk. Like, no one would want to live in his head, knowing what goes off in his head. Which, again, sounds crazy, because on the surface you think, well, it's fucking Elon Musk. Like, the guy's a fucking billionaire, owner of Tesla, owner of Twitter. Like, he's got all the money in the world, yet he's saying to people, no one would want to live in his head and be him. Which, again, reiterates the point that to compare yourself to someone, or to be jealous of someone, you have to compare every single thing. You can't just look at one particular thing and compare that. You have to weigh up. An accurate comparison would be, you have to weigh up every single thing about that person to accurately compare yourself to them. But we don't do that. We just compare our life to their highlight reel. I think another important thing to note is you don't need to feel like you're losing because someone else is winning. And regardless of whether they are actually winning or they're just making it seem like they're winning through this whole highlight reel. But again, it all comes down to how you're perceiving these things that you're looking at. If you see that someone is winning and they're doing well, or they do something great, I think if you're getting pissed off at people doing well, that's one issue, and that says a lot about you as a person. The fact that you would get pissed off at someone doing, like, I couldn't imagine getting pissed off at anyone for doing well, whether it's a stranger, whether it's a close friend, like regardless of the situation, I would never look at someone doing well and be pissed off at them for doing well. And I would never look at them doing well in whatever it is that they're doing and think I'm not doing well in life because I'm not doing as well as what they are. So I think you've got to learn to compete with yourself and not others, because again, it's absolutely pointless comparing yourself to others. Like it doesn't bring anything positive into your life, only negative, and it's going to send you down this spiral and down this road of self-doubt, of jealousy, of all these other things that, again, just they're going to serve you absolutely no purpose if you want to get anywhere in life. And it's like, it's a pretty cliche quote, but I think that the quote is something along the lines of, you should only compare yourself to the person that you was yesterday. But it's absolutely true. That is the only 100% accurate comparison, is to compare where you are now to where you were yesterday, a month ago, a year ago. Like whatever time frame you're using to compare, as long as whatever it is that you're doing, as long as you're improving, as long as you're getting better, as long as you're growing, as long as you're learning. Again, even if, and I've spoke about this on other podcast episodes in terms of like people's views on failure, and even if you think that you are failing at something, like that is still giving you an opportunity to learn what it is that you're failing at and try to do it again, but do it better. So yeah, I think if you can learn to adapt that method and learn to just compare yourself and understand that, again, yes, there's going to be certain things outside of your control, but it's about focusing on what you can versus what you can't control. And there's a quote that I live by, which is, if it's not going to matter in 5 years' time, don't spend more than 5 seconds worrying about it. And once you start adopting that philosophy, like I have, guarantee you will live a lot more stress-free life. I don't get stressed about anything. And again, that's just me. And obviously, it's probably easy for me to say that because I don't have tremendous amount of responsibilities over my head. But again, I'm just talking from experience. And then, yeah, I think obviously on the topic of social media, I've set my social media up in a way, like I don't follow many people on social media, like on my personal one. It's not for any particular reason other than the fact that I'm only following accounts of people whose content like I want to see and whose content is going to give me value in a way. So that's why I keep who I follow quite low. And again, that's what I like. That's what I used to do that ages and ages ago. Like I would, when I first started PTing, I'd follow all these amazing PTs and coaches that were doing amazing things. And yes, I would take inspiration and I would take motivation from their accounts. Again, I'd find myself in this fucking imposter syndrome land where I'd be comparing myself to, I'd be like, oh, why am I not as good as a coach as this guy? And it's like, he's been doing it 10 fucking years. I'm still in my first year. So I used to find that, like, now I don't really follow many coaches on my social media anymore. Obviously, I'm a lot more further into my career, PTing and coaching wise now, so I just don't feel the need to follow a shit ton of coaches. So just look at how much time you're spending on social media, for one. Some people spend more time on social media than they do fucking sleeping. Like, they'll only sleep 4 or 5 hours a night, but they're on social media 6, 7, 8 hours a day if you check your screen time. Like, which is absolutely crazy. So look at how much time you're spending on social media. Look at the accounts that you're following. And a good example that I use is, like, let's say you're trying to diet, yet you're following all these like food places. Like, let's say you're following Krispy Kreme and you're following all like cake businesses, and you're scrolling through. You know what I mean, you sat there eating your next to nothing calories, and you sat scrolling, and you're seeing all these donuts and cakes and all this shit come up. Like, do you really think that that's going to improve your mindset or improve your relationship with dieting? Like, is it fuck? Because you're going to sit there and you're going to be like, oh my God, I'm so hungry. I want this, I want that. Like, it's just so counterproductive. So again, you need to just identify what these triggers are. If you're a female watching this and you're not happy with how you look and you're following all these influencers and models that look amazing, if you're not following them to take inspiration from, if you find yourself looking at these girls and almost being jealous and that's making you feel even shitter about yourself, like, unfollow them. I think you should only be following people if you are following them to be inspired, to be motivated, to be educated. If you're getting triggered by anything or anyone that's posting stuff on social media, like, just unfollow them. It's as simple as that, and it'll do wonders for your headspace. Trust me. Or even go one step further and just take a social media fast. Like, come off it for a week. Delete it. Delete Instagram. I was going to say delete other social media apps, but I think Instagram is probably the prime one for this type of stuff. So just come off it. Log out. Delete it for a week. Trust me. You'll sit there and you'll feel like you're missing out and you want to see what everyone's doing. But trust me, you log out that app for a week, you ain't missing shit. You're going to come back a week later and you'll want to have another week off because you'll realise that it's just the same shit. So yeah, we're going to wrap this episode up here, guys. I hope you've taken some value and found this episode useful. Next podcast topic episode will be the topic on sleep, so keep an eye out for that in the coming week, or actually with me and Dom being away, potentially might be the following week now, but that is the next one on the list. If you did find this video useful, please be sure to drop it a like. And if you are new around here, don't forget to subscribe so you do not miss out on any future episodes. As always, thank you for tuning in, and I will see you next time.